Hello, everybody. Welcome to House of Champions. We're delighted that European soccer is back for the festive period. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Fabrizio Romano for a transfer special. So let's get straight into it. Fab, how are you doing, my friend? Great to be on with you. Are you having a happy holiday period so far?
Yes, my friend. Thank you as always. My pleasure. I hope the same for you. And yes, all great. We are into the January transfer window, I would say, because many things are already happening, waiting for the window to open in a few days. And so ready to answer all the questions.
Excellent stuff. Well, let's not beat around the bush. We'll get straight into it. Now, let's look at Arsenal and Mudryk. It's a story that hasn't really seemed to have gone away since the summer. And now sort of the latest that we're hearing is that Shakhtar have rejected a £55 million offer. Is that accurate? What's the latest with Mudryk?
Yes, Arsenal submitted 2 days ago an official bid for Mikhailo Mudryk, the first official bid ever by Arsenal, because in the summer it was Everton, Brentford, many clubs interested, including Arsenal, but they never made an official bid. Now there is an official bid on the table. That bid is for 40 million euros guaranteed plus 20 million euros in add-ons. Shakhtar said no. They immediately said no. So that was really clear, as they always wanted way more than this. In public, they state that they want a fee similar to Antony, Jack Grealish, so around 100 millions for Mikhailo Mudryk. The feeling of people in the industry that at the end, Shakhtar could accept less than this, but depends on the structure of the deal, depends on the fixed fee, depends on how easy will be the add-ons. So there are many details into this kind of negotiation between Arsenal and Shakhtar. So at the moment, there is no agreement between clubs. The agreement on personal terms would not be a problem because Mudryk would be, first of all, super happy to join Premier League. He dreams of Premier League. And of course, he would be super happy to join Arsenal. But now it's on the clubs. So they will keep negotiating. The deal is absolutely on. The two clubs are in contact. The agent of the player is also in contact with Shakhtar to understand the next steps, how much they want, how they can find a way. And so let's see how Arsenal will act in the next days. But the negotiation is still on for Mudryk to Arsenal.
One of the main names since the World Cup has been Cody Gakpo. Now, how exactly did Liverpool manage to get themselves into the front of the queue for his signature?
It was really, really fast and really surprising. Not surprising on Liverpool style, honestly, because 1 year ago they did exactly the same with Luis Diaz. He was one step away from joining Tottenham. Tottenham officials were in Portugal to close the deal, and Liverpool in 24 hours were able to eject the deal and sign Luis Diaz. And so they did almost the same in this case. It's different because Manchester United never made an official bid to PSV Eindhoven. They had advanced conversations on player side. Cody Gakpo was keen on joining Manchester United. The feeling was really optimistic on Erik ten Hag's side because he's a big fan of Cody Gakpo, and so there was a strong interest in Gakpo, but never an advanced negotiation between clubs or never an official bid because Man United were still deciding internally how much they wanted to spend on transfer targets for January transfer window. They spent a lot of money in the summer on Lisandro Martinez, on Antony, on Casemiro, and many other players. So they wanted to go for different kind of solutions in January. They were still in the process of deciding how much they wanted to invest on the striker, and this is why the process was slow. For Gakpo, Liverpool were really convinced after the injury of Luis Diaz and after Jurgen Klopp pushing with the board to have one more winger for the second part of the season, waiting for Luis Diaz to be back in March. The decision was to proceed with Cody Gakpo. So they've been really fast in the process with the player, really fast in the process also with PSV, paying £37 million plus add-ons. The player is now in England to complete the medical test and to sign the contract. The contract will be valid until June 2028. Also was really important, Virgil van Dijk. He had a conversation with Cody Gakpo to explain him about Liverpool, to push for this potential move. And so now Cody Gakpo will be a new Liverpool player soon.
We've got a lot of questions coming up, notably regarding Manchester United. Now, obviously, you said that there was an element of United working out how much they wanted to spend on certain transfer targets, but is there a sense that United let this deal slip through their fingers, that really they could have had Gakpo if they wanted to, but simply that Liverpool pushed and were too strong at the end and more serious?
Honestly, I think they had the chance to sign Gakpo multiple times because in August it was possible. The player wanted to move. Cody Gakpo in an interview a few weeks ago saying that he was prepared to accept Man United. So the player wanted Manchester United. He was open on the move. So it was not a problem for him to join Man United, even if they don't have Champions League football. But the real point is that internally with the club for sale, because we have to remind that the Glazers are prepared to sell the club as soon as possible, they were still deciding internally how much they want to spend on the January transfer window in general. Because when when we see players like, for example, Denzel Dumfries linked to Manchester United with a price tag of 50 million euros, is something that Man United are not going to do in January. And so this is why they were still deciding how much they wanted to invest on the striker situation. And Erik Ten Hag is a big fan of Gakpo. This is the real feeling. The feeling is that Ten Hag wanted him, but also that for Manchester United was not a priority now to invest 50 or 60 million euros on a winger. So this was the real point, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned Diaz as well, and there's also Jota. I mean, what does that say for them sort of long-term at Anfield? Is it as simple as once Diaz is back from injury, he and Gakpo, will sort of be in the rotation, or does that possibly mean, that there's less room for one of those two once Diaz is back to full fitness?
I think it's about the rotation, as you mentioned. So from what I'm told, Liverpool wanted one more player in that position because they've been really unlucky in the last 2 years with the injuries, many injuries. And so they wanted to add one player in that position. They really love one thing about Cody Gakpo. They've been scouting him for a long time, but they really love how he plays for the squad. He's a really super professional player. He's very good in playing with the team. He's not just a superstar, but he's a player who knows how to adapt to the team priorities. And so he can play as a center striker. Of course, he's a winger, but he can help in different positions. So he was considered a perfect opportunity on the market, and this is why they decided to act fast on this deal. It's something that 1 month ago was not in Liverpool plans. They were focused only on the midfield situation. But then after the injury of Luis Diaz, they decided to proceed. And so this is why Gakpo is the player they consider very good for rotation. He can be an option for the wing, of course, but also as a center striker in case sometimes they will need to rotate. So I think it's a very smart signing for them, honestly.
And with Liverpool making a move like this, for Gakpo, what does that say about their potential ability to bring in, say, a Jude Bellingham at some point in the future, or an Enzo Fernandez? Are those the kind of names that Liverpool will still look for, or are those names perhaps less likely, given the size of this deal?
First of all, I think a part of this Gakpo deal, the priority for Liverpool remains the midfield because they had many injuries there. They have many important players, but many of them are often injured. And so this is why the midfield remained the priority. Also, Oxlade-Chamberlain is out of contract in the summer, and I think there are very good chances for him to leave on a free. James Milner is out of contract, and let's see what he will decide about his future in general as a professional. Also, Naby Keita is out of contract, and at the moment there is no agreement yet to extend his contract with Liverpool. So they're really focused on the midfield, and Jude Bellingham is the top priority. They know that in January is almost impossible as of now. Then we never know in the transfer market, but as of now, Borussia Dortmund have no intention at all to negotiate with any club for a January move. So the feeling is that Bellingham will move in the summer and Liverpool will be there because Klopp is obsessed with Bellingham. The top priority is Jude Bellingham. On Enzo Fernandez, it was a crazy week, honestly, around Enzo, because after the World Cup, what happened around Enzo Fernandez is that many clubs started to have conversations with people close to the player. Benfica are very clear. They want 120 million euros, the full release clause, not less than this. So all the clubs prepared to pay also 90, 100 million euros is not enough to convince Benfica. So at the moment, what I'm told about Liverpool is that they have not made any official bid for Enzo Fernandez. So there is no negotiation. They are not triggering the release clause of Enzo as of today. And so at the moment, they are still quiet on the Enzo Fernandez deal. I think there are other midfielders in their list, and Jude Bellingham is a top priority for the summer. It's true that on Enzo Fernandez, there is strong interest of Chelsea. They really appreciate the player. But as of now, they have not triggered the release clause yet. So at the moment, the situation on Benfica side is very clear. Release clause very soon. It means in few days. Otherwise, they will call the player out of the market and they will keep Enzo until the end of the season.
Is it fair to say that the biggest competition the greatest competition for Liverpool for Bellingham's signature is going to be a club like Real Madrid? I know I've seen a few questions jumping into the chat from Steve and the like, wanting to know perhaps about Real Madrid's position on Bellingham.
I would say yes, Real Madrid, and I want to add Manchester City too, because Manchester City are also working on the Jude Bellingham deal, as Real Madrid too, as Liverpool too. So I think these three clubs will be in a fight to sign Jude Bellingham. Also, Chelsea have always been interested, but they never made any official approach with Borussia Dortmund as of now. So let's see what they will do in the next months. But as at the state of today, I would say Liverpool, Real Madrid, and Manchester City as the three clubs are pushing to sign Jude Bellingham. Let me say that it will take time. I know there is a feeling like Bellingham is deciding in a few days. I'm told this is not the case. He has to meet with Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund have to decide how much will be the final price tag for Bellingham, because a few months ago it was around 100 million euros. But after a great World Cup, I have a feeling, and people into the industry have a feeling, that will be way more than this. Could be more than 120, 130 million euros for Bellingham. So this is why it will take some time, this process to sign the English star, but I'm not sure it's going to be in a few days or in a few weeks. It could take months.
Fascinating stuff. We'll be right back after this break for more transfer goodness from Fab.
Don't stop watching Leo Messi, the man, the myth, the legend, the GOAT.
Utterly explosive!
The UEFA Champions League. Stream PSG matches live February on Paramount+.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Don't stop watching the world's best soccer. Stream every match of the UEFA Champions League live on Paramount+. It's soccer's ultimate annual competition, not for country, but for club. Sign up today for 50% off an entire year using the code ALLYEAR at paramountplus.com/sports. Well, let's get right back into it with Fab, because we know that his time is precious. Now, Fab, Joao Felix, he's somebody who's been linked with a number of moves over the last couple of months. Is there any update on his potential prospects for a move this January?
Yes, I think there is a good chance for Joao Felix to leave Atletico Madrid. Today, Diego Simeone was speaking in a press conference again, as Joao Felix is an important player and this kind of stuff in public. But the reality is that the agent of the player, Jorge Mendes, has been in England multiple times to have conversations with English clubs about Joao Felix. And this is why we have many links. He spoke to Arsenal. He spoke to Manchester United. He also spoke to Chelsea. But I'm told that as of today, I know that Chelsea fans are really waiting for updates on Joao. But at the moment, I'm told that there are no advanced negotiations between Chelsea and Atletico Madrid. They have Mason Mount, they have Christopher Nkunku, who's going to join the club in the summer from Leipzig for more than 60 million euros. So they invested big money on Nkunku, and this is why now Joao Felix will be different kind of opportunity. So at the moment, he's still not advanced with any club, but Jorge Mendes is pushing. He wants to find a solution with Premier League clubs because, as you know better than me, with PSG at the moment, there is still nothing concrete, nothing advanced. Also, PSG have many stars in that positions, and so I don't see them signing Joao Felix on loan. Also, because if Joao Felix leaves Atletico Madrid, it's because he wants to play. He needs to play. He needs to be consistent. We know about his talent, but he has to prove his talent every single day, every single weekend, every single Champions League game. And at PSG, they have already many stars. So this is why Premier League is the destination. But at the moment, they are still waiting, Atletico Madrid too, for one of these clubs to move and say, okay, we are prepared to pay that loan fee and also the full salary of the player. And also important to remind that the value of the package Joao Felix for Atletico Madrid is more than 100 million euros. So we will see if it will be a loan, a permanent transfer, a loan with obligation to buy. But Atletico Madrid, at the end, want more than 100 million euros for Joao Felix.
Well, Felix is a bit like Milinkovic-Savic, and I feel that we talk about him every single transfer window. Now, my friend, is there any update on him? I know that there's a few people in the chat asking about a potential move to Arsenal. Is there any chance that the Serbia international is on the move this January, or is that one for next summer?
It's not an easy one at all to sign Milinkovic-Savic in January. I was speaking to Lazio sources a few days ago, and they are 100% convinced that the player will stay there at least until the end of the season. Then he's out of contract next year in 2024, and this is why there are many rumors around Milinkovic. Lazio will try to extend his contract. They will try to negotiate, but their expectation is for the player to stay in January, and they have not received any approach from Arsenal or any other club or any official bid. So we always have many rumors about Milinkovic-Savic, but then Lazio president Lotito mentioned many times that he wants more than 100 million euros for Milinkovic-Savic. In Italy, he's considered the best midfielder of the league, and so this is why it's going to be a complicated one, a tough one. At the moment, there is nothing advanced. We will see.
And now, sticking with the Premier League and going to Chelsea, David Datro Fofana. That's a name that we've been hearing a lot of this past month. Is there any update there? I know that Chelsea have just put an official update out there about an hour ago.
Yes, it's official. It's finally official after a deal was signed a few days ago between Chelsea and Molde. It's a deal worth 12 million euros plus some add-ons included in the negotiations between Chelsea and Molde. The contract is a long-term deal for David Datro Fofana, who decided to accept Chelsea. It was his dream to join Chelsea, and so now the player is more than happy. He was approached by many clubs around Europe, not just in England with Brighton, but also some clubs in Germany, some clubs in Eredivisie. So many clubs were interested in signing him, but then when Chelsea jumped in, he decided to say yes. And so So he's going to be a new Chelsea player. From what I'm told, he's going to join Chelsea immediately in January. So he will have a chance to train with the squad, to work under Graham Potter, and then to decide during January if they want to continue with him as part of the first team or maybe to find a solution on loan. It depends on David, it depends on Potter, but the deal is done, and I think he's a very smart signing because this guy is born in 2002. He's scoring a lot of goals. If I'm not wrong, he's 21 goals this year with Molde, and so they are considering him a top talent for the future.
And another player as well who's been linked with a move to Stamford Bridge of late is Monaco's Benoit Badiashile. Is there any update on him and any potential links with Graham Potter's side?
Really close. I would say it's really close for Badiashile to join Chelsea. There are conversations advanced between Chelsea and Monaco on the fee. They offered 35 million euros. Monaco want around 40 million euros to sell Badiashile. So there are conversations ongoing to understand the final fee, but they are really, really close. So I think in the next days, they will try to get it completed. It's not going to take long to see the end of this Badiashile story between Chelsea and Monaco. There is an agreement between the player and Chelsea. They are looking for a left-footed centre-back. We know that Gvardiol is always the obsession. They love Gvardiol. They wanted Gvardiol in the summer, in the final days of the transfer window. But now for Gvardiol, the price tag is more than 95 million euros. So not easy at all. Badiashile is a good opportunity. He's a talented player. You know him very well and know how special could be this opportunity for Chelsea to sign this kind of player. Left-footed centre-back is not easy to find now on the market for 35, 40 millions. And so I expect this deal to be completed in the next days.
Yeah, and you've got Reece James as well, who's unfortunately picked up another injury. It could leave him out of action for some time. Do you think that could prompt Chelsea into doing some transfer business as well in that area of the pitch?
I think yes. I think it's a possibility. We will see who will be the right player in that position because now really Chelsea are busy with many players. So they're working on many different deals for the present, for the future, as David Fofana and also Andrei Santo, this Brazilian midfielder born in 2004 who's joining Chelsea from Vasco da Gama for the future. So they're busy with many deals. But I think a right back is a possibility after the injury of Reece James. They were already exploring some names on the market as potential opportunities in January. At the moment, still nothing is advanced in that position. There are many players they appreciate, but as of now, it will take some time. The feeling is that they can do something in that position in January.
You mentioned Gvardiol as well. Is there any chance that we see a Real Madrid going for him in 2023? Obviously, he's the kind of not breakout performer, but one of the stars of the World Cup, and we know how much Florentino Perez does like the outstanding performers at World Cups.
Yes, it's true. And at the moment, honestly, there are no negotiations between Real Madrid and Leipzig. But what is true is that Real Madrid have sent their scouts multiple times to follow this boy. So he's a player they really appreciate, they really like. Then it always depends on the price for Real Madrid. They don't like to be in strong competition with other clubs and to overpay players. So this is why it depends on the final price tag decided by Leipzig. Real Madrid are following the situation, but I don't see him moving to Real Madrid in a January transfer window. I think Real Madrid will focus on the summer. They already signed Endrick, which is a really important move because they invested many million euros, part of the budget on this boy for the future. For Gvardiol, Real Madrid are keeping an eye on him. Manchester City too, because Man City had his name in the list last summer when Nathan Ake was close to rejoining Chelsea. Then the deal collapsed, and so nothing happened between Gvardiol and Man City. And then I would include again Chelsea, because as I mentioned before, they wanted him last summer, and he remains a player they have in the list. But now Badiashile is the priority.
Another hot topic is the Manchester City pursuit of new fullback options. You've got names like Guerrero, like Ait Nouri there. Any potential players to keep an eye on there? Any potential movement ahead of January?
It will depend on the opportunity. I'm told at the moment there is nothing advanced. Also, Pep Guardiola in the press conference, from what I'm told, he said the truth. He said, "I don't expect any move in January." Man City are now not actively working on any deal in that position. There is Sergio Gomez, who is a young player, so he needs time to adapt. We know that in the summer they wanted Cucurella, then they decided to leave the negotiation because of the high price tag after negotiations with Brighton. So at the moment it's quiet. Then we know how good are Manchester City, as Liverpool too, when there is the right opportunity on the market to be really fast and sign the player. For example, Akanji was not a target for Man City in June. In July, in August, the player was available on the market with a good price tag, and they decided to jump into it. So let's see if there will be some opportunity in January, but as of now, still nothing advanced for a new left back.
Well, before we finish up with you, Fab, just going to throw up a couple of questions from the listeners. We'll wait for producer Des to tee up a couple. So here we go. Which clubs are interested in Moukoko as a free agent? I mean, are there any clubs that are not interested in him? I mean, such a young talent. I think so many of Europe's top clubs would be delighted to have him.
Yes, and your answer is perfect because there are really many clubs. It's true that Barcelona, we have rumors about Barcelona, and it's true that Barcelona are interested in Moukoko, not for January because Barca are not signing any striker in January, but for the summer, he could be available as free agent. So he's a player they would love to sign, but there are Premier League clubs who are prepared to attack Moukoko immediately for a January transfer window, so to negotiate with Borussia Dortmund. But just in case he will not agree a new deal with Dortmund, I would keep the situation open because there are conversations ongoing between Moukoko and Dortmund. He loves the club, he loves the manager. There is a great relationship with Edin Terzic. So the manager could be a key factor in this negotiation. The point is, at the moment, there is no agreement on the contract. And so let's see how this negotiation will continue in the next few days, I would say. Then if in January there will be no agreement between Moukoko and the Borussia Dortmund, keep an eye on English clubs because they will try to bring him to Premier League in January.
Absolutely. Promises to be fascinating. And another question for you. A potential striker for Manchester United in January, or are we talking about a loan, a permanent deal, or do you think they might wait until the summer?
No, I think they will try to bring a new striker because after Cristiano Ronaldo decision to leave the club together with Man United, of course, they need a new striker, and Erik ten Hag wants a new striker. I think a loan is a possibility. It depends on the opportunity. Also here, we know that Joao Felix would be an option, but he's not a traditional number 9. So it depends on the decision they will make internally also with Erik ten Hag. Of course, after this Gakpo story, I don't see Man United investing big money on a striker because if they wanted, they had Cody Gakpo available on the market, appreciated by the manager, but they decided not to make any bid. So I think it will be about the opportunity now and probably an important name in the summer.
Fantastic stuff, as always. So thanks to Fab, and thank you for listening to House of Champions. Please take a minute to leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast platform. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere that you listen to your podcast. We're also available as videos. So subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Fab, thanks so much, my friend. It's always a pleasure. Looking forward to the next one.
Thanks a lot. My pleasure as always, and see you soon here on House of Champions. Thank you.